Alright, hello. How are we doing today?
Ring the bell here.
To start off with, I'm really sorry. I know there's been a delay. It's been
Like 19 and a half decades, I think, since I posted something.
really just had a lot going on, and channel's definitely not dead. There's actually a lot of news going on with the channel, and we'll get to that. This was a video I wanted to do. I wanted to do this earlier, but like I said, I couldn't. So anyways, I'm back now, and again, another new series that we're going to be doing, and I promise that's it. There's going to be no more new series for a while.
Well, I can't promise that, but it seems like I keep coming out with new series, and I should probably just work on my old series, but the kind of guy where it's like, okay.
Secret locations, I don't want to go find another one. Or, I can't just keep making videos and call them random rambles because that's just going to get annoying. So, a great idea, and I talked to my brother about this one, and he seems to agree. We're going to do the WoW Ultimate Beginner's Guide. And what I mean by Ultimate Beginner's Guide, it's literally going to be like the perfect guide. So this is going to be, if you have any experience with WoW, this video is not for you. You can still watch it because I'll try and make it entertaining, because that's what I do best. But this is really aimed for people who've never even, logged into WoW. So let's get started. What you're gonna want to do first is log in with your login credentials, of course. And don't ask me about my email. Yeah, sucker does rule, but that was when I was a kid. And, yeah, like I said, I've been playing this game since 2005, so just do the math. And once you log in, you won't see the screen. I just have a lot of accounts because I'm weird, but it should automatically log you in, and you won't see this either. So you won't see all these, obviously these different characters here. You're not going to see this. Actually, I think it'll take you to. You'll have to choose a realm. So a realm is like a server. If I really don't want to explain that, difference. They're all the same. Well, they're not all the same. There's different servers, but I mean it's the same game on every server, and it's just some of them have high populations, some have low populations, and you can sort that by clicking this right here, and it'll sort it from top to bottom. I play on Titch. It's a high population section. I don't know why it's not full. On WoW realmpop.com it says it's the most populated server. I play on this server because my favorite aspect of MMOs is the fact that it's a massively online game. So that's why I play. Some people prefer it to be a medium server or even a low server. I don't like that. I like seeing a shit ton of people, just lots of activity going on, full cities, things like that. Unless people are chilling in their garrisons, which is something I talked about in my previous video, and if you did watch it, then you should be laughing right now. And yeah, that's something that I prefer. But you can pick whatever server you want. We're going to talk about the servers really quick, briefly, because it will be your first pop-up as a new player. Is going to be the realm selection, and basically, you're going to want to take a look at it like this. You have normal servers. So that's on a normal server. So to start off with, I have to actually create a character to show you. It's kind of stupid how they do it like this, but there is no choice. There's two factions in WoW. So there's like Team 1, Team 2. Each team consists of different races, but they can all be the same classes. And they all have their own cities, their own areas and stuff, but when we do PvP, that's player versus player combat, that's the people you're against. So it's called a faction. We're going to call them teams to be easier. So on a normal server, if I am on Team 1 and I see you and you're a member of the opposite faction on a normal server, we cannot kill each other. So we can only kill each other if you come into my city, I will be able to kill you, or if I come into your city, you'll be able to kill me. On a normal server, however, in the wild, that doesn't happen. We're not flagged for PvP, you can't attack me. However, on a PvP server, so now you got these, you can. Basically, it's the same as a normal server, except in all areas, except the beginning ones, you're flagged for PvP, and in your own cities, you're not. So if they they can't just come into your city and kill you. But anywhere else in the world, so a good 95% of the map on PvP, it's all-out warfare. Sometimes I'm in the middle of a quest and I see a person of the opposite faction run by me. They'll wave at you. They won't even fight you. Sometimes they're too lazy. However, there's other times when someone can be a complete jackass and just keep killing you and going into low-level areas, which is something I am guilty of and many other PvPers are when you get really bored. So that's a preference, really. If you want it, PvP feels more real. Then again, it is a fantasy game, so we're not really going for realism here, but it is, you know, in essence more real. You know, if that was real life and you were in there doing that, you could kill someone if you wanted. So that's a PvP server. Then you have RP servers. Now, role playing is basically role playing your class, or your race, or whatever, your character that you make. Every character has their own specific story, background, and you can make that. You know, it's all in your head. You know, my character fought in the War of 1812, blah, 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 blah. And you kind of make this background for your story, and you base it off that. The general aim isn't really to get to the end level and beat the end game content. However, they do that on role playing servers. It's more to just role play. You can get flagged for talking about normal things. So if you go into the chat and type something about Trump, you can get banned for that on a role playing server because it's destroying the immersion of the other players. They want to really be immersed in the world. I've never tried it. It's something that I find a little odd. I went on once. You can actually see that right here, and walked around and checked it out. I wasn't a fan of it. However, you might love it. I'm not saying anything against it. I can see why some people like it. I don't. And there's a few that are RP PvP. These are just regular role playing, but they're like the PvP we previously mentioned. So the regular ones are the PvE, player versus environment, while these are RP PvP. So I don't need to go into detail there. Once you select your server, you're going to go on there and you're going to create a character. So these will all be blank. And you hit create new character, pretty simple. And you go up here, Alliance and Horde. Those are the two factions I mentioned earlier, Team 1 and Team 2. And right here you can choose the gender of your character, male, female. And I'm going to start off with Alliance, and we're just going to go down. So the first race, and races, so you can see all these different races on the side there. Races are more of a aesthetic, I don't know if I said that right. Races are more of just a how you look kind of thing. So like a human warrior and an orc warrior, for example, are going to be the same thing, except for when they all have their own special racial trait with a couple passive abilities that really don't make that big of a difference. Now, I don't want to get attacked by some PvPers. There are some PvPers that will say, no, the ability that humans get is so much different than... And yes, they all have different racial abilities, and we'll talk about them, but they're not that big that they change it that much. Unless you're some hardcore endgame PvPer or something, there might be certain classes or races that you prefer for your class because of their racial trait. But the racial trait is going to make up about 1% of your character. There's 99% that's going to be the same. So in my opinion, races are more of a look, and then yes, they do have their own special skills, but it's not big. So humans, here you go. If I need to explain what a human is to you, you have bigger problems in your life and you shouldn't be playing World of Warcraft. On the right side, you can see the different classes. We'll get to those after. But yeah, that's a human. That's a chick human. There you go. Actually, we're going to do the classes now. And then each race can be a certain amount of classes. So see, humans cannot be a shaman, for example, or a druid. But they can be everything else. And different races can be different things. The classes, they will look different, obviously. A warrior is going to be your melee guy. Well, you have a warlock or a mage. Those are, spellcasters, things of that nature. So these are the different, and I'm not going to go into every single class right now. We'll do that after we cover the races. But you'll notice that some classes will be blacked out for some races. Then we go to the dwarf. Dwarf, if you know anything about Lord of the Rings, you should know what a dwarf is, or that one Disney fucking blah 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 and the Seven Dwarves or whatever her name is. It doesn't matter. Dwarves are fun little dudes. They sit and they drink all day, and I think they are like one of the chills classes in WoW. I really like dwarves. Female dwarves are a little awkward to me. I don't know, just looking weird. But this is your classic dwarf. Then you have a night elf. So this is like your elf, like Legolas, except he's I guess it's a black elf. I don't know what else to call him. It's a dark elf. Night. Night is dark. It's a night elf. Here are their classes, and here is the chick night elf. I don't want to go into the lore of these. I don't know the lore of every single actual race. Like, if you ask me anything about orcs, I can probably tell you anything about orcs from a couple books I read in high school and things like that. But for example, I know nothing about other ones. Like, there's the panda at the bottom. I don't know anything about them. So this isn't a lore video, more so just character creation. So here's your night elf. Here's the gnome. These guys are the tiniest race in the game. I think they're really fun to play, but they're hard to play against. It's hard to click on them. They're fun little fun guys. Yeah, it's like a midget. So dwarf is like a half midget. These guys are a full-on midget. You have Draenei. These guys came from another world, and they're like the big race. So if you want to be a big guy, you'd be a Draenei. They're just naturally bigger than the other ones on the Alliance side. And then you have a Worgen. A Worgen's actually really interesting. They're actually humans, so if you go back to Draenei, you don't see anyone back here. But then on the Worgen, you'll see a human in the background. That's because that's the Worgen in human form, and they can switch back and forth. Quickly, and I know I just said I'm not going to do lore, but just to explain why. Actually, we'll get to that. On the other side, if you can see the undead, there was a war going on, and the undead kept killing these humans and raising them back as the Forsaken, and they were turning them all into, on their side. So, I kill you, I turn you, and then I turn you back into an undead on my team. And they kept doing that to raise their armies. Well, they figured out if they use some spell, I think, or it's a curse, I'm not sure exactly what happened, but if they turned into the wolf, or the Worgen wolf-looking thing, and they would drink each other's blood, they turn into that, and when they die, they cannot be re-risen as the enemy. So they didn't want to turn into these things, but they had to save themselves from turning into undead. So that's why they can switch back and forth. That's your Worgen. Then you have pandas. Pandas, I know nothing about them, other than the fact that they're actually, if you can see, they're in the middle. So you start off, you make your character, and then after about level 10 or something, you get to pick, do you want to choose the Horde, or do you want to choose the Alliance? So they are neutral in the beginning, then pretty quick, level 10 comes in about, half an hour, even if you're brand new, okay, an hour. And then you get to pick. So that's pandas, they're alright, I don't know, I don't ever play one. I just think they're weird looking. But yeah, and now we're going to go to the Horde. The Horde is my preference. I've been playing them. I played Alliance for a little. I just think they're a lot cooler, and they're not like, it's not good guys and bad guys. They're all, they're not bad people. They're just fighting, so they're at war with each other, but it's not like, don't think of it as like Alliance and the humans, they're good, while the Horde are bad, because I know it looks bad, you got this mean looking orc, and then under him is this undead skeleton, but they're not bad, so don't think of it that way. So here's orcs. There's a female orc. I think they're hideous, but that's, I think I would never date a female orc. I don't know, maybe you would. That's my preference. They're pretty badass, and I like them. Here's a couple other variations of what they can look like. Now, there's so much different armor. This is just an example of what an orc warlock would look like, or an orc hunter, etc. We have the undead. This is my main class. This is my first class I ever played in WoW. Undead warlock, to be specific. This one looks ugly. They don't actually always look like this, where they have the tongue hanging out, but that's an undead. Yeah, that's them. Tauren. These are kind of the big guys on the Horde side. They're just these giant walking cows. They're a little shorter than the Draenei, or maybe they're the same, but they're big and bad and strong. If I were to ever play Tauren, I would play a melee class, I don't see Tauren like a Tauren priest, like that just doesn't, you actually couldn't always be a Tauren priest. Blizzard added that later. I don't agree with that. I don't think Taurens, these big dudes, they need to be warriors. They need to be, hunters and just not spellcasters. Maybe druids, that I understand that one. We'll talk about that later though. That's a Tauren. Trolls. I know nothing really about trolls as far as the lore of Warcraft, so I can't tell you. They're really close to the orcs in the starting areas. They actually share capital city. Not every race gets its own capital city. Only certain races do. But that's trolls. Female trolls. Also, I think they're hideous. I just would never date one of those. Yeah. Blood elves. So this is like your night elf we spoke about earlier, except it's a blood elf. This is your regular, Legolas type thing. You can be a warrior with them. You can be a mage or warlock or a hunter. I see them more as hunters, Legolas. So and there's a lot of people in WoW named Legolas with like 2 S's or 2 G's, or you'll see that a lot. I don't know. That's not fun to me. But there's a lot of Legolases or Legolas wannabes. They'll never be as epic as him. So that's your blood elf. So each side gets their own elf, I guess. They have night elves, we have blood elves. Also in the future expansion coming, there's a new class coming. It's going to be called Demon Hunter, and it will only be played by elves. So blood elves and night elves. Each faction will get it, but only on an elf. So if you want to play Demon Hunter, which everybody wants to play Demon Hunter, there's going to be a shit ton of elves next year. So if you make a character now, don't make an elf, because you'll make a Demon Hunter elf. Make something else, unless you love them and you want multiple ones. Then we have these little goblins. They're like the little guy on the Horde side. They're not as little as the gnomes. You can tell the gnomes are a little smaller, but these guys are tiny. There's a chick goblin. They're actually all over the game. They're neutral. There's like computers goblins. They have their own cities and stuff. These guys are all about engineering and money. They love money and they love engineering different things. You'll get to know that. But a certain group of the goblins have joined the Horde. It is now a playable race. I think that's really cool. I've yet to make one, and I really, really want to. And of course, back to Panda. So that sums up races for WoW. Now I'm going to talk about classes. You have warriors. If I need to explain to you what a warrior is, you shouldn't be playing this game. Then I'm going to just go down the list, and if I can't click it, I'll pick a race that can be it. Then you have a paladin. This is like your warrior, but a mixture of certain spells and holy, so it fights. It can heal also. Paladins can be healers. Or you can choose a specialization that allows them to be a tank or a DPS. If I have to explain DPS, tank, and healing roles, just read up on that if you don't know. You should know that. I mean, unless you're really brand new to MMOs, basically a DPS stands for damage per second. They do damage. Tanks take the damage from the monster, and healers obviously heal everybody. It's pretty basic there, guys. So please don't ask me why I didn't go into specifics about that. So paladins are like warriors, except they use like, holy might and things like that. So a little bit of magic with them. It's pretty fun to play. Then you got hunters. Hunters, that's your Legolas. They get a pet, actually. They can tame basically any beast in the world to help them, which is really cool, and it helps a lot in questing, and it allows you to quest alone. Hunters really have it easy when they quest, I think. And hunters are, they attack from range. They used to be able to do melee. They don't anymore. I don't know if they're bringing that back. Maybe it already is back. I'm not too up to par on that, but hunters are definitely fun to play for me. Just shooting shit and watch your pet tank all the damage. Remember that word we just used, tank? See, I'm using that vocabulary. You should know now what that means. So that's your hunter. Rogues, so they're not, I don't want to call them warriors, they're a melee, but these are sneaky little assassin guys that their whole thing is from level 2, they can be invisible, not during combat, but before combat, which allows them to surprise enemies, and it's permanent invisibility. So they get in stealth mode, and they just go in and stun you forever, and just, attack the shit out of you with those little daggers. And if you're a spellcaster, you will learn to hate rogues. Yes. Then we go to Priest. That is our first, I guess, casting class that I've talked about so far. Priests can do damage, or they can be healers. There's 2 different healing specializations, or 1 damage specialization. They are like paladins without the fighting, just more holy stuff, and they just heal you and put bubbles on you that protect you from damage and all sorts of fun stuff like that. Or there's shadow priests, which use shadow damage to deal damage. Shamans. Shamans are also melee warriors, but they're kind of like paladins. They're warriors with some casting. They can be healers or they can be damage, except they don't wear, their armor is a little weaker, but they place little totems that help them around, and they do melee damage, but with spells too. So like, I don't know how to explain it. They love the, air, water, lightning, elemental things like that. They love the elements. And actually, when WoW first came out, shamans and paladins, shamans were only on Horde, paladins were only on Alliance until the Draenei came. And Draenei were allowed to be shaman, and then the Blood Elf were allowed to be paladins. But they're similar in the aspect of they can be actually shamans. Casting damage is actually, they cast stuff. But they're melee, and they have spells mainly, it's what I think of a shaman. So it's kind of like a warrior, but they use cool like fist weapons and they have spells. They're fun. Try them out. Alright, mage. I really don't want to spend time explaining what a mage is. They just do damage, frost, fire, and arcane. So it's 3 different kinds, whichever you want to go. Frost, obviously blue, cold shit. Fire, it burns you. And arcane, which is like this purple magical energy. But they're spellcasters, basic, magic damage, things like that. Warlocks. Warlocks are also, they're like mages in the fact that they're spellcasters, but completely different types. So they can see that little imp. That's their first little, I guess we're going to call it pet, but it's a demon. And as you grow in levels, you can summon more powerful and powerful demons. You can actually, one of their specializations is demonology, which allows them to even summon greater demons to help them. They have the benefit of the hunters. They always have an ally with them. Really fun. That's my main class as a warlock. So like I said, just does magic damage like the mage, but in a whole different types of damage. One of their specializations focuses a lot of spells that deal damage over time, things like that. Monk. I'm actually going to click on the panda while we look at this, because whenever I see monk, I think of panda. They came out together. I don't know much about monks. I know they can do damage and tank. They're melee. They're all like, they're these peaceful dudes, but they fight with these little staves, and they can do all sorts of fun stuff, and I don't know much about monks. I'm sorry, I wasn't around for Mists of Pandaria, but I know they do melee damage. Not really like holy magic, but I don't know how to explain a monk. Please, wow. Ultimate Beginner's Guide, and I can't even explain the class. Google it. It's 2016. Sorry. Alright, Druid. Druid is a fun class because it can be 4 different things. The Druid can be a tank, it can be 2 different types of damage dealers, and a healer, whatever you want. It is what we would call a hybrid class. For example, it's a shapeshifter. So if you want to be a tank specialization, you shapeshift into a bear, and you're a bear all the time, a mean-looking bear. If you want to deal damage, you can either be this giant walking owl thing that does magic damage from afar, or you can be a little tiger cat looking thing, which is like a rogue, and it can be invisible, and it basically resembles a rogue in every way except it's a cat, and its skills are like cat skills. They're not like dagger, it's like more like a hand swipe or something. And it can be a healer, which is in that normal regular mode, and they heal you using nature heal spells, nature things, like fucking when they heal you, it's like a leaf pops up and shit like that. I'm being very basic right now with these explanations, by the way. If I went in depth about every single thing from race to class, this video would be like 19 years, and it's already too long. And last but not least, we have a Death Knight. Every single class in the game, but pandas, I believe, can be Death Knights. They're fun. They're the first hero class. You start out at level 55 with them, and they're warriors. They're like warriors. They do melee demon. You can tell it looks like a warrior. They can tank or they can do damage. They can summon little minions to help them and stuff, and they have some magical abilities, like they can pull you to them with this magical purple thing, and kind of like warriors, but a whole different way. Also, don't know too much about them. Never really liked them, but yes, that's a Death Knight. So then once you get in, after you pick your class, character customization. We're not going to do Death Knight because theirs is different. And every race has their own little things. So humans, that's what theirs looks like. If you go to, a Tauren, they have horn style, instead of some other thing. And I'm not going to go into customization too much. You can do that on your own. Basically, you can randomize it, or you can go in and pick from the different options on each thing. So, pretty simple. Don't need to spend time doing that. And then your name, of course, you will pick your name. Let's just, for example, we're going to make a Tauren warrior. Will be as basic as possible. And we're going to randomize him. This guy looks good. We'll even randomize our name. We'll call it RingTheBell. How about that? Let's see if that's taken. It's not taken. And then let's just enter the world for fun so I can show you guys what the beginning looks like, as this is a beginner's guide. Not going to do anything, but just kind of show you how the game will start for you. Each race will have a specific cinematic that will play right at the start. I encourage you to watch all cinematics if you're a new player. They're really fun. They help you learn the lore of the game and things of that nature. What you're looking at right now is the Tauren capital city. You will get to that eventually as a Tauren. I'm going to skip the cinematic now because that's not the purpose of the video. And you start out in this little village. If you hit M, that's your map. And it'll kind of show you where you are. Right click zooms you out. That's the zone. So it's the starting area. That's the zone. That's the continent. with all the other zones. That's 4 separate continents with all little individual zones. And if you zoom out again, that's 3 different worlds with continents, with zones. So the game is effing huge. Basically, that's all I'm going to say. And you start out, and of course, the little guy with the yellow exclamation mark is where we're going to start on our next video. Thank you guys for watching. I'm really sorry on the wait. Please like and subscribe and all that fun stuff only if you like the video. I literally only say that because it makes me sound like a YouTuber. I really don't want to sit here and tell you guys to subscribe to my stuff. You will do that if you like it. But like I said, I only say that to sound like a YouTuber because my little brother bitches at me if I don't add it at the end because he says I don't sound legit. Thanks for ringing the bell. I'm out. Bye-bye.